So this is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. We're doing another collaboration video. I'm here with Hector, the chill dude on the couch. And we're going to be talking about the new Def Leppard album. Before I begin, if you haven't subscribed to Hector, please give him a sub. He does lots of album reviews. He does lots of interviews, lots of underground bands. So if you're like that, and you want to check out and find the new music, check out his channel. So yesterday I was in the music store and I did pick up the new Def Leppard album, Diamond Star Halos. So it's a digipack, pretty cool. Actually, I like the artwork a lot. It's kind of a glare here. So actually, I think this artwork is maybe like one of their best out of all their albums. I liked it a lot. And it's a long album, 15 songs, and it comes with a CD. So this comes with the booklet, and the booklet has lyrics in it. So it is a pretty nice presentation. And so we're going to talk about our thoughts on the album. I'll let Hector go first, and so first thing I want to talk about are the singles. So the first three songs on the album are the three singles: Take What You Want, Kick, and Fire It Up. So why don't you tell me what you thought of those singles, first of all?
Yeah, so first of all, yeah, I like the artwork too because it's very reminiscent of their 80s albums cover.
Yes.
And yeah, I thought that the first three singles are very good. And when the album dropped and I saw, I'm like, oh yeah, it's the first, and they're in the same order that they were dropped. It has Take What You Want, Kick, and Fire It Up. And what I like about these singles is that it has that classic Def Leppard sound. And when I heard the first three singles, I was actually excited about the Def Leppard album. I gotta be honest, I haven't listened too much to Def Leppard's latest albums. I think they were, I wouldn't say bad, but they're not as good as their classic albums in the 80s. I think I kind of like fell out of love with them and with the styles of music that I heard. But I think Take What You Want is a great album opener. I like the chorus part when they sing Take What You Want, and it's really catchy. Kick is another catchy song with some great guitars on it, and Fire It Up, you just can, it's a song that you can picture yourself being in a concert and just like having a fun time listening to that song. So I think the first three singles start the album on a high note for me.
Okay. Yeah, I felt the same way. I like I think I like the first two singles better than the third one. Take What You Want, I like a lot. It's just very catchy. Classic Def Leppard. Kick I like a lot because it's kind of like that throwback to that like 70s rock. They're kind of like paying homage to like the band T-Rex a little bit. And Fire It Up, that was the one I liked maybe the least of the three singles. But again, those three singles were classic Def Leppard. So I was impressed with those singles. I did enjoy them. So now we're getting into the album, and we talked a little before recording this how it does have like lots of highs and lows. So we'll talk about some of the songs you liked the best. So if you want to tell me maybe like two or three songs that you thought were the best from the album tracks.
Yes, of course. So I like the first three singles, but I also thought that SOS Emergency sounded like classic Def Leppard too, and it has those whoas that they're so Def Leppard when they do there's some bands that there's only one singer and no one else can sing, but not Def Leppard. Def Leppard, everyone can sing, and when they do those choruses they're all singing, it's just pure 80s magic in the word. I thought that song was very old school Def Leppard, and I love when they do the whoas and then they do the lyrics. It's like it stays in your mind, and it's not a super long song. It goes by pretty quickly, and I thought it was very catchy and very memorable. I also like You Rock Me. I don't know why they spelled it UROKMI. I thought that one was it kind of like it's like a young and a newer version of like a Pour Some Sugar on Me a little bit,
Yeah.
not as great as Pour Some Sugar on Me because that's a classic. But it had that You Rock Me, and it was catchy, but it did remind me a lot about. Do you remember that song like I Want Candy?
Oh
From
yeah, the 80s song. Yeah.
Yeah, when they do that, You Rock Me. There's a part like I started like singing I Want Candy because it like the humming or the
Yeah.
way they sing the You Rock Me sounded a little bit like that one. I don't know if it was intentional, but I thought that one's also a very fun track. And I think that this album is best when they stick to that fun formula from the 80s. So those two tracks and the free singles are my standout tracks for me.
Okay, cool. So I'll comment on those. I like You Rock Me. I thought the spelling was a little weird, but
Yeah.
I guess they kind of wanted to like maybe do that like throwback to the 80s. So yeah, You Rock Me was a good song. I like how actually I like the intro too. They're playing I think it's a ukulele. Actually, I looked in the liner notes where that part I like that part a lot. The chorus definitely it's simple, you rock me like that. Very simple, but again memorable. So I thought that was a good song. And the other one you liked, yeah, SOS Emergency. That's probably classic Def Leppard. That probably would have been maybe a good choice for a single as well.
Yeah, they should have
Um,
released that as a single.
yeah, they could have, and maybe they will release that as the next single. But I thought that would have been a good choice to release before the album. So I did enjoy those ones. So I'm going to mention two others that I enjoyed a lot. I'll choose some different ones. One song called Liquid Dust. This one was completely different. It was like kind of like grunge and alternative, and me, I like anything like grunge '90s. So I did like that. They kind of like took a little turn with that one. It's a little psychedelic, and it did something a little different. So that was like one of my top songs. And there was a ballad. Now they have a couple ballads, but the one that I liked a lot was called "Goodbye for Good This Time." Really nice lyrics, really heartfelt ballad, really well written. They used the orchestra and just emotional, has that like epic sound. And I like how they did the guitar solo because they did it on the acoustic guitar. Now, usually a lot of times these metal bands, they try to put in like an electric guitar solo into the ballad, but they use the acoustic guitar. I like that one a lot. And so that's my second song that I thought was the really standout.
Yeah.
Okay, so now if you want, we'll talk about some of the songs that you thought you didn't like too much.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to mention with that song that you said, the Goodbye for Now. I think I
Yeah.
like the guitar solo too because it's more like flamenco style.
Mm.
And I thought that was different. And yeah, that's the best ballad out of the album. Now I'm going to mention the two songs that I think, I wouldn't say they're bad songs, but they felt so out of place.
Yeah.
Especially, I got to mention this guitar. This guitar is the fourth song on the album, and you have the first three rockers, and then all of a sudden you get this country song, and it totally like puts the brake on the fun. And I heard it again, and I'm like, I wouldn't call it a bad song, but I wouldn't call it a Def Leppard song either. Like it was more Alison Krauss, and I don't know, like the song, I can hardly listen to Joe Elliott on that song. I listen more to Allison singing, and to me, it brought the energy of the album way down, way too soon, and it like hit the brakes, and it didn't feel like it should have been there. Like I'm like, why is this song here? Like it totally it totally messes up the flow of the album for me. And also, like listening to it, I'm like, this could be like the perfect soundtrack for a Cracker Barrel. So yeah, I thought that song was out of place. And the other song, Lifeless, which also has Alison Krauss, feels more a little bit more country, but a little bit more fast-paced, but also not a bad song, but I didn't think like it mesh well with the other songs in the album. I think if they would have taken those two songs out, it would have been great. Like because especially this guitar, it really puts the brake on the momentum that the album was with the first three songs, and to me that dipped it. And I was like, "What the hell is this?" So to me, those songs easily like just delete them, and I think the flow of the album, at least for me, would have been better.
Yeah, I agree. Those are two songs that I thought they were okay, but like not on this album. Like they didn't really fit. The one, this guitar was very similar to a song that Alison Krauss, or actually the album Alison Krauss did with Robert Plant not too long ago. I reviewed that on my channel, and it's like that country Americana. And I think if she was going to like do an album, with maybe like Joe Elliott, like all those types of songs, it probably would have been more appropriate than sticking it on a Def Leppard album. So, like I said, it's not a bad song, but it's just like out of place. And the one you said, what's it called? I kind of lost my place. Lifeless. It's like modern country. It's it's kind of like a mixture of like pop and country. And again, it was kind of out of place, and it was a lot of actually like Joe Elliott like did most of the vocals on that one. I know Alison Krauss was kind of like more the backing. Maybe if it was like a duet, maybe I would have liked it a little better. But again, I thought it was kind of like out of place, like for a Def Leppard album. So I can agree with you on that one. So a couple of other ones that I didn't like. The song "All We Need." When I first heard the intro to this, for some reason I thought it was like a ringtone. That's what it said, and that's what it sounded like. Because I was listening on my phone, and I thought I was getting some kind of notification. I don't know why I thought that, but I put that on my notes. But it was just very like cookie cutter, very like recycled Def Leppard. So I thought it didn't have anything special about that one. And the other one I put that I didn't like. Well, there's that one. And another one, let me find it. The other one, like "Give Me a Kiss." I thought that was good, but again, it's just kind of like the same, like basic, like Def Leppard, kind of like cookie cutter. It's catchy, but I didn't really think that it stood out. And I'll mention one more. The last song, "From Here to Eternity," it wasn't that bad, but it reminded me a lot of the Beatles. "I Want You, She's So Heavy." It kind of has that, reminded me a lot of that one. So I thought that was okay, but not that great. So
yeah, and I guess also for an album closer, I thought it was kind of like he was okay.
So those were the ones that I thought were like the ones that were not too good. So I guess we kind of agree. So what would you say if you were to maybe? Well, I guess you haven't heard all of the albums, but maybe if you would kind of like rank it, would it be towards the top, bottom, maybe in the middle, and like what score would you give it?
I think this album, out of like Def Leppard's classic albums, I would put this in the middle because I think they really tried to capture what they did on albums like Pyromania, High and Dry, Hysteria, obviously, which is obviously one of their best albums. I think their last like really, really good album was Adrenalize for me. Then in the 90s, they like kind of dipped a little bit, and they put out a few albums, I think Slang, that they were okay, but they were missing, I don't know, that magic that they had. But working in the 80s with Mutt Lange, he was just a perfectionist. So I think they tried here. I would put it middle of the road. Other problems that I had on this album, I thought that they had a few too many power ballads, but they weren't that great power ballads. They weren't the Love Bites. They weren't bringing on the heartbreak. Like they were ballads, but they were missing the power. I don't know if they're like ballads, but without the power. So they were missing something to me. And I also think that the album, it has some mid-pace songs like "Open Your Eyes," "Unbreakable" that are fine. They're not like mind-blowing, but if I had to rate the album as a whole, I would say it's a decent album, a decent 7 out of 10. I think that they tried, and when they have those catchy singles, they really sounded like classic Def Leppard. I just think some of the song placings, like the Alison Krauss songs, like Put a Break, and felt like they so out of place that they shouldn't have been on that album. And that to me like took away a little bit out of the experience. But Def Leppard is still a classic band that has stood the test of time. And I think it would be unrealistic for me to say to them, like, put out another Hysteria. That's not going to happen anymore. But as a whole, the album, it is enjoyable at times. There's some parts that I could live without. I think if they would have taken out like 3 or 4 songs out of this album, it would have been better for me. And I think it would have flowed better. And I think like the album should have closed like with a rocking song. Yeah. Like that to me would have been perfect. But at the end of the day, a 7 out of 10 for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I agree. It is a kind of a long album, 15 songs. It definitely has filler on it. For me, I think like the first 4 Def Leppard albums are, like almost perfect albums. The Adrenalize, I kind of like started to lose interest with Adrenalize, but that one is okay. It's decent. After that, the ones I didn't really like too much, Slang, I didn't really like that much. The one that I did like was called Songs from the Sparkle Lounge. I thought that was pretty good. But
yeah, that came out in 2008. Yeah.
For the Sparkle Lounge, Euphoria, I didn't really like too much. There's one called X that one was really bad. They had a covers album which I never even listened to, and then the last one before this, it came out I think in 2014. It was a self-titled. That one was actually pretty good. They started to bring back that like signature sound. So I'll probably do a re-ranking at some point, maybe like in a week or 2. I did do a ranking at one point. I would probably rank this, like you said, maybe towards the middle. For me, it's always like the first 4 are always going to be in the top 4, and then that will never change. Maybe somewhere on par with maybe like Sparkle Lounge or the self-titled. That's kind of what I thought. Like I said, it's long. This filler, they could have trimmed it down a little bit. Maybe those Alison Krauss songs that could have included on like a special edition as like extra tracks. I think that maybe that would have been better. Ending the song with a rocker. So they could have maybe put something like maybe like SOS Emergency at the end of the song, at the end of the album. Because I think the album actually kind of like loses some steam. The first song, the first 3 singles is really great. Then this guitar, this one, it kind of like it breaks up the pace. But then like SOS, Liquid Emergency, You Rock Me, Goodbye for Good This Time. This is all really good. And then when the album starts to take a dip around like track 9 or 10. All We Need, Open Your Eyes. So they could have like maybe like moved as one of the singles or the rocking or rocking tracks towards the end. Maybe that would have been good. So again, it's a decent album. I think it's kind of a good comeback. They're definitely doing better than they were in like the 90s and early 2000s. But
yeah, I think they're trying to find their classic sound again.
Yeah.
And because I think in the 90s, with the grunge, they tried to change it a little bit and try to please that crowd. And it just didn't work. Def Leppard needs to stay in the Def Leppard like type of music, like like what AC/DC did. They stayed AC/DC. They didn't change with trends. So Def Leppard tried to do it not as like drastic as some other bands did, but yeah, I think the 90s was difficult for them. For a lot of
the 90s were difficult for a lot of metal bands because grunge and alternative were like so popular all over the radio, and a lot of bands were like trying to do that, and some made it work and some didn't make it work. So Anyway, let me start closing up the video. I forgot to give my score. My score would be like, I think, a 7.5 out of 10. Maybe I liked it a little better than you, but that's my score. And so for those of you watching, please comment below. Tell us what you thought of this album. If you have any other ideas for other videos, any other collaborations that you think we should do, put it in the comment section. Please subscribe to the Chill Dude on the Couch. His link will be in the video description. And so that is all. So we'll see you in the next one.
See you on the next one, guys.
Yep.